Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television. Please click the link below, support our sponsor, Sons of Liberty Tees, grab a t-shirt like this, send a message to your president that we're not going to take it anymore. And we're also not going to give up our guns, nor do we want your shitty, let me repeat, shitty healthcare. So that's what I want to talk about today, because living in America is kind of like being on the Titanic. You know, you're excited, you feel the intensity running through your veins, you know, you're hanging on to the edge of the ship, you know, staring at Rose and Jack's there, and you see the tears in your eyes and you're going down with it. But it's strangely exciting, even though you know that you're facing imminent death. And you're about to submerge yourself into the ice-cold sea and die. That's kind of what it's like to live in America today. You're watching it die. I mean, literally, the companies like Sons of Liberty Tees, the media houses like Alternative Media Television, I mean, we really are the last of a dying breed. We're literally the last remnants of the founding fathers just squeaking out, "Liberty!" That's where we are. And I'm getting a lot of questions today, yesterday, over the past few weeks, even the past few months, people asking me, even people that I know that voted for this scumbag, this criminal president that is Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, I find it amazing that we could even elect somebody with that name who's closely associated with one of the alleged most dangerous terrorists in the world, Osama bin Laden, Durka, at any moment, you're gonna die! But, you know, the American sheeple are dumb. They're idiots. They don't really see how this affects them. They didn't see how electing the next Hitler-like president was going to affect them until now. But they're starting to get irritated, and I'm actually amused. You know, not only am I knowing we're going down with the ship, but I'm kind of amused at the people around me and their feelings and what they're telling me. And there's a lot of people pissed off about Obamacare, and they've been asking me specifically, Christopher, why would the president and why would the federal government institute a health care plan if it was only certain to bankrupt America? And you see, now you're starting to ask some really good questions. You see, that is the intent, bankrupting America. And let me explain that to you, because in 2008, that financial crisis, that crash, that stock market calamity was an engineered event. That's not my opinion. I was there. I worked for a major Wall Street broker, Merrill Lynch at the time. I had 3 monitors in front of me. I watched, as I was managing millions of dollars on behalf of clients, I watched these criminals from the inside screw the rest of America. It's one of the reasons I went rogue, picked up a camera, and started delivering the truth to you, the humble viewing public. That was engineered, and it was an orchestrated event in order to transfer trillions of dollars of wealth. Success. They did a really good job. Obamacare is now a follow-up to that. It is another way of transferring wealth, that any of it that's left, to the elite, to the financial elite, by raising costs. Now, raising costs makes you and I more dependent on the federal government. When our health plans are not only canceled in the millions, those are the numbers statistically, in the millions and millions of cancellations, when costs go up, that puts more pressure on you and I financially. It means it puts more pressure on buying groceries, servicing your mortgage, your credit cards, anything else that's also been self-created by the federal government to keep you in the debt cycle. That is what America is today. It's a debt cycle. To do anything, you need debt. To buy a home, you need a mortgage. To get a car, you need a car loan. To get a college degree, you need to take out school loans. All of it is a vicious cycle to control you, to to extort those funds and interest payments, which most people never even pay off. They just continue accumulating debt, and then they die, and then there's a death tax, and you pay it again. You see, you never get out of the loop. But it's a way of extorting more and more money from the American people, making them more dependent on the system, more dependent on Obama, more dependent not on socialism, because this is not socialism, this is fascism. And let me distinguish the two. You see, if you go to other countries, let's take France for example, they have socialized health care. People pay taxes and they get their health care. What Obama is rolling out through Obamacare is completely different. It is forced health care, which means you don't have a choice. They're not going to give you health care. They're forcing you to go to the private market or these exchanges and purchase health care, or else they're going to penalize you, or they're going to tax you. This is not really any different from taxing tea, and we all know how that ended up with the Boston Tea Party and the Declaration of 1776. Didn't seem like Americans really liked it. But this is the same type of program now occurring in the real world. I was reading a Forbes article that cited independent sources that say on average, both male and female individual health plans are going up. At the very least, they're doubling. And some family health care plans are moving into the ballpark of 300–400%. This is taking more money out of the pocketbooks of Americans. And there's also hidden taxes that you don't even know about. There's a real estate tax on very high-end real estate and high-income earners that are now paying a tax when they sell their home to the Obamacare program to fund that. So it's a way of bleeding you dry. It's a way of keeping you in the negative feedback, fear loop, debt cycle, this continuation of debt, quantitative easing, 0% interest rate, and a phony funny money system propelled by the Federal Reserve here in the United States. It is flipped, but really stayed the same, now moving from Ben Bernanke to old Yeller, Janet Yellen now taking the reins. So it's bleeding us all dry, and that's the point. And it's also transferring wealth. And in addition to that, it incentivizes families and Americans to make less money. Because in order to qualify for the subsidies, you have to be within a certain government-defined range of income. Otherwise, you don't fall in the poverty line. And so what they're doing is creating an incentive so you do fall in the poverty line. Again, people that don't have any money and can't take care of themselves are dependent on the government. They're dependent on the infrastructure. But what's interesting about it is the infrastructure is crumbling. It is literally crumbling at our feet. This is Rome burning. Yet the masses don't see it. A lot of them, the great majority, don't see it because they're still caught up in the illusion. They're caught up in the illusion of debt. They're caught up in the illusion of the debt cycle. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards, business loans, school loans. Without it, their entire world flips upside down. Their retirement flips upside down. For many Americans, everything that they've ever done over the past 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years or longer is built around that system. So to extinguish it would mean total disorder and chaos, which is exactly what the federal government is brewing. This has been an orchestrated event from the very beginning. It started in 2008. We could argue started decades before that. It started with the creation of the Federal Reserve. It has been transferring and funneling money out from regular Americans, John and Jane, Joe on the street, you and me, to the financial elite, and only incentivizing criminal activity on Wall Street and in big government in Washington, D.C. Let me give you a statistic, and this is pretty astonishing. Some of you probably don't know this. Since 2008, and since the bailouts, and since the trillions and trillions of dollars paid by you and I, 0.7% of the banks in America now control 70% of all the financial wealth. I want you to think about that for a minute. 0.7%, less than 1% of all banking institutions, the banking cartel in this country, control 70% of the wealth. They haven't broken up the banks. They've done nothing to change any kind of regulation or prevent another catastrophe like 2008 from occurring again. What they're doing is blowing up an even bigger, more gigantic, bloody bubble than they did before. And we have bubbles in all asset classes now, whether or not it's the stock market hitting all-time highs, It's the U.S. Treasury market. It's the bond market. It's a collapsing dollar, which is the end game. The dollar is collapsing. That's why prices are rising. That's why gold has done so well. It's not necessarily that gold is appreciating so aggressively. It's because the dollar is depreciating aggressively. It's just maintaining its value. It's just maintaining its tangible worth. So all of this around healthcare, Obamacare, the financial collapse of 2008 is all about a transference of wealth. It's all about a transference of money with the intent to keep you dependent on the system, to keep you dependent on the infrastructure that is the Federal Reserve and the cycle itself that is and makes up debt here in the United States of America. But you see, the problem is the rest of the world is waking up to this. Whether or not it's our major trading partners like China or Japan or Russia or others, they are moving away from the dollar. In fact, there was an article in a key leader within the Russian government who was making comments saying that they're thinking about making it illegal to hold U.S. dollars in Russia. Going back into a Cold War era type mentality. Not only is all this happening, but we are totally being overtaken by the surveillance state, as we've talked for incessantly over the past few years. They're putting up cameras in places like Seattle, these white boxes that connect with Wi-Fi technology to know and triangulate our locations at any given time. The NSA not only is tracking our every move, they are hacking into servers at Google, they're hacking into these social media companies, whether or not you believe Google's in on it or not, they're gaining access to this information and they're taking full control over your life. And, you know, the beauty of it from their perspective is that you're giving it to them. You give it to them every time you participate in this system. Every time you pull out your Chase debit card. Every time you use your Bank of America credit card or take out a mortgage or continue the Ponzi scheme. You contribute to what is destroying our society. But not just destroying our society, but also destroying our humanity. We need to move away from this. We need to engage in something different. We need to go back to the foundation and the fundamental principles that made this country great. And we also need to change with it too. We have to adapt to the changing environment. We have to battle against the surveillance state and the police state and this authoritarian technology that can be used for good or evil. But we all know what happens when it gets into the wrong hands. So when we get leaks from people like Edward Snowden or others that bring the truth to us, or people like me who've been passionately delivering a message to you over the past 3.5 years fervently, we are the resistance, folks. You are the resistance. And it's time that you fight back. It's time you take a stand. And you can do that peacefully. It can be done peacefully through your actions, the way that you think, the way that you interact in your daily life, who you choose to associate with and do business with. Actions speak louder than words. So I want to encourage you to not just hold on to that ship and sink with it. The dying beast that is America, that has been overtaken by pure evil. And we could argue satanic elements. Don't be holding on to the ship as it goes down. Do something different. Take control of your own life. Diversify out of the United States dollar. Diversify globally. Expand your horizons. Get out of the debt cycle. Get out of this funny business. Out of this funny money. And take control of your own well-being. Take control. Define your future as you see fit. Shun this criminal government. Shun this criminal system. And help us build our ranks. I'm Christopher Green. You've been tuning into AMTV, Alternative Media Television, hard-hitting and in your face as usual. Please support our sponsor. Grab a t-shirt today. I've got 3 of them. It supports them. It supports me. It supports what you come to know as Alternative Media TV.